Welcome back, everybody. We've got some more projects at the shop today. We got some work to do on the tow truck, and we've got this beautiful truck in here. Most pristine Chevy you've ever seen. It's just absolutely mint. It's so perfect that there is a lawnmower blade welded on holding this beautiful front brush guard on. So this is a really clean truck. It's only got 50 original miles on it. Been driven by a grandfather type person, barely been used, and we're gonna pull the motor out of it. That part's actually true. Everything else I said is we're making stuff up. But this has got a 6.0 in it, and it's got an NV 4500 manual 5-speed transmission. So we're pulling this motor out, we're pulling the transmission out, transfer case, then we're gonna pull another 6.0 out of a Suburban I've got. We're going to shuffle some parts around, and then we're going to throw a 6.0 into my personal Suburban with the 5-speed, hopefully, unless we change our mind and put an automatic. And then we're probably going to put the other 6.0 into my black short wheelbase 1500. So we got a couple big engine swaps that we're going to get started. So we're going to start tearing this thing apart so we can get this motor out. Then we got to get the transmission rebuilt on it. And yeah, it's going to be fun. And we're going to work on a tow truck today. At least that's the plan. Right? Right?
Josh was laying down.
Lightweight, made of aluminum. Alright, while Luke's working on tearing this thing apart, I'm going to jump over to the tow truck. Tim's working on a radio for a customer. Tim's taking a nap, as usual. So on the tow truck, we got a lot of stuff we need to do to it. But we got another winch that we need to try to get installed right up in there. So we're going to set it down low and then come out and run a second winch line off the boom right up here, off the snatch block. So we'll have 2 winches off the boom. And then we've also got Mor Flate. We got our air compressor in. This is one of their new ones. It's got a auto shut off and a display and everything, so you can set your PSI, turn it on, walk away, and it'll shut off when it gets to it. I've also got their 4-tire inflation system. So we're gonna get this set up where we can air up and air down all 6 tires quickly, because we're gonna have to do that a lot. So I've got to get this mounted. I think I'm gonna put it right about here. So I gotta find a piece of angle iron. We're gonna have to build a bracket, weld it on. I'm gonna try to mount that there, and then I gotta get our air tank put back in. I stole it the other day for a project, but I need to put the air tank back in, and we're gonna get all that plumbed up so we can have an air compressor and have another winch. So I'm gonna work on some of this. I got our air tank back in. I've got to get some fittings and stuff so I can hook this up to the compressor later. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get the winch in. I got the holes drilled for that. See if I can get these bolts to line up and drop this winch in to there, so then it can spool out this direction, come up to the boom. So now that I got the winch sitting in here, I can see this isn't going to work right here. It's going to hit this metal when the winch line pulls out. So I'm going to have to shim this whole winch up probably 2 inches or so. All right, I cut a couple pieces of 2-inch square tubing, and I was going to use that as my spacer under the winch here, but I think I've changed my mind and I'm going to up it to a 3-inch, which is overkill on the size of the steel, but it gives me advantage. The 2-inch wasn't lining up very well with my holes and being able to weld it into the existing angle iron, so that was kind of a problem. And the 3-inch, I've got a piece under it now, so you can see how high it's sitting up. It actually lets it sit up a little bit higher so that I could actually run that winch line. It would still hit right here, depending on the angle that I was pulling at. It would probably still hit this, but that is rounded and smooth, so I can run a winch line over that and probably be okay. I can always mount a fair lead there as well if I need to, or even back here. We're planning on tucking a winch under the back of this, but winches are expensive. We only have 3 right now, so we're trying to put them in the most useful areas. So we've got the portable one in the front that can also be moved to the receiver in the back. Now we'll have a lower one here and the upper one here, so we can run dual off the boom, but I could also run it down low straight out if I needed to just winch. So this would actually make it where I don't need to pull the one off the front. Still want to get a bumper on the front, but one thing at a time as money allows. So I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to cut a couple pieces of 3-inch square tubing, weld that in, and then I can bolt the winch down straight to that. Alright, I got those welded on. Give those a minute to cool off. Let me get some holes marked and drilled in them. I'll probably throw some primer or paint on them at least. Keep them from rusting for the time being, but I'll have to let them cool off for that. So I'll probably go ahead and drill my holes, let them cool off some more, knock off the slag, and see where we're at. I think that's going to work pretty good though. And I can kind of have to do it this way so that because the way the winch bolts up, I have to be able to put my bolts up through the tubing and bring the bolt out the top, because the winches just have a square nut that fits into these brackets right here, and then the bolt comes up into it. Makes it a little bit harder because I have to be able to access where the bolt's coming through at. Otherwise, I probably would have run these the other direction and going across this, but then I can't get into where the access to the bolt needs to be. So I probably could have just done a flat plate across the top, but I didn't have complete confidence in that holding, though it probably would have been just fine. But this is what I'm doing, so it's what we're going with. Well, it was a little bit of a booger, but she's in there now, ready to rock and roll. Whew, now if I can just get out of here. Ugh. All right, so that's up in there. Now I can bring that winch line out. It's gonna work really good. But it's getting late, everybody else is gone. Luke got quite a bit done on the truck over here. He's got the bumper torn off, about to take down the, we'll go ahead and pull the radiator, all the front support and everything off here just to make it easier to get that motor out. But it's late, everybody else has gone home. I think I'm gonna call it a night too, and hopefully get back to this a little later. I'm back, guys. I've been busy on other stuff, but Luke's been getting a ton of stuff done on the truck. Got the coolant hoses and wires, a bunch of stuff disconnected from underneath. We might get it out today. It might be next week. We'll see. It's Friday, so we gotta go home at some point. I mean, we don't have to, but we probably should. So Luke's still working on this, and I'm going back to try to get a couple more things on the tow truck. Tim got the winch I added on wired up, so that's ready to rock and roll now. All right, camera died, but I'm on my phone now. For some reason, all of our GoPros never seem to work for long. I don't know what it is, but they just never work. Batteries don't work when they're too hot. They don't work when they're too cold. Anyway, winch is on. We'll throw the boxes back on, but I'm gonna work on getting the Morrflate air compressor, and we're gonna put it right up here so it's easy to get to the screen to set our air pressures. then we'll be able to hook it up to the air tank right there to give us a little reserve air pressure if we're trying to set a bead or something. So we'll have that, but I got to add on a little plate. So I'm going to cut some steel, add on a plate so we can get that thing bolted up. All right, got my plate all cut out and cleaned up. See if we can weld it on here. This just give us a nice spot to bolt that compressor up. All right, brackets on. Welding's not pretty, so don't look at the welding. I don't know who did that welding, but brackets on. I'm gonna throw a little primer on it just to protect it from rust for now. We'll probably paint it later. At some point we want to paint the whole truck, but that's a long ways off. But I'm gonna throw a little primer on it. It's cooling off, let it cool, primer it a little bit, and then I might go ahead and get the air compressor up there, drill some holes first, then primer it. That's what we're gonna do. So you may be wondering why go with Morrflate over ARB or some of the other reputable brands. Which Morrflate is pretty reputable from everything I've heard. And I picked Morrflate because it's one of the most affordable, large, high output dual compressors you can get that I could find. I did reach out to them. They gave me like a 5 or 10% discount when I told them I was with Arkansas Off-Road Recovery and I was going to be putting this on the tow truck. So they gave me a little bit extra discount for that, which was cool and super helpful when I can get things like that because we're building this with basically nothing. But this also, it's very high output. I forget what the measurement, cubic foot per minute or something like that. CFM, I think is what it's called, cubic foot per minute, the output of the air. This is one of the highest capacity. I don't remember what it is. You can go watch somebody's review on it if you want to know capacities and all that kind of stuff. But it also has a digital display with an auto shut off. So I can set the pressure and it'll run to that pressure and then shut off. I did test it on my truck earlier. My red truck out there needed the tires aired up because I had them aired down from last time I was out on the trail. And it aired up really fast. The one thing that I'm not sure on yet, it seemed like I set it to 50 PSI and let it run. And when it got to 50 PSI, it turned off. I don't think it will automatically turn back on unless but I've only barely used it. So I don't know that for sure. I need to find out because I'd like to be able to automatically keep that tank pressurized, or at least have the ability to automatically keep it pressurized. And I don't know if that's going to happen or if it's going to shut off every time it reaches capacity, which would be a little bit annoying, but I can still deal with it. It's going to be easy to reach over here and hit buttons and do everything. So I'm pulling these rubber feet off and I'm going to run, it's just got a little screw going into like a plastic hex head deal here. That's what holds that rubber boot on. I'm pulling that off. I'm going to put a 1/4 inch bolt through it, keep that rubber on there to help with vibrations and everything, and then bolt that down onto the truck. All right, can't find the rib nut kit. So I'm going to use some self-tappers, but this is temporary, and Tim's not here to complain about me calling something temporary that might not be temporary. Well, it is temporary. It just might not get replaced till it's a problem. Self-tappers aren't the best here because they're going to get loose eventually with all the rattling, but we'll fix that later. So it's going to be temporary just to hold it down because I need to get this ready to go because the temperature has been dropping here. We're in Arkansas. It doesn't get that cold. We don't have a lot of snow, but temperature has been dropping. There's chances of snow in the next few days. It's going to be down in the single digits, which is cold for here. It's not cold a lot of other places. Here, that's cold. And I need this thing to be roadworthy, ready to rock and roll in case we got to go do recoveries. We may be out doing recoveries in the snow with it. Which reminds me, go follow Arkansas Off-Road Recovery. We have that channel going. Not a lot of content there yet, but hopefully we're getting a lot more soon as we get more stuff done on the truck. And you can also get Arkansas Off-Road Recovery shirts and Tracer Custom shirts at 3strandapparel.net. If you want to help support us, that would be pretty cool. We've had several people buy some, and it's pretty cool to get to send some out. So I'm going to get this thrown down here. It's getting late on a Friday, and I need to get out of here, and I'm talking way too much. So if you're wondering about this truck, Luke's gone for the day. It's Friday, it's late, but everything's torn apart. I think all we lack is maybe front drive shaft and a few little odds and ends, but we are almost ready to pull that motor out. Probably not gonna happen today though. Oh, I don't know if you've seen this truck. Well, Tim might have showed it to you. This is a truck I just got recently. This is gonna be my company work truck. This is a 1500 HD, which aren't near as common as the 2500 HDs or the 1500s. This is basically a 3/4 ton truck, but with a lower classification. So it's got a heavier frame under it. It's got 8-lug axle, 8-lug wheels. It's got the 6.0 motor, 4L80 transmission, heavier duty transfer case, all that stuff. So it's basically a 3/4 ton, but with a lower weight rating classification. But that's going to be my work truck. We've been working on that. Speakers, radio, remote start, a bunch of little stuff like that, fixing a lot of little things. It's an older truck, a lot of miles, but it's paid for. That's what counts. All of my trucks are paid for, and that's how I like it. All right, air compressor's on. I got to get some hose parts and pieces. I got to straighten up some wiring in here. I'm going to get some zip ties and do that and try to get some power to this thing so it can operate. I think I'm almost done working on the tow truck today. I'm gonna try to get that power issue straightened up, and I need to cut this piece off because it hits the winch line. This boom is not really that great. I need to get a new core support and a new head for it. I need to get some parts and pieces to fix some stuff on this. It'll work, but it won't work as well as I want it to work. So I gotta get some of that at some point. I've got the other winch line strung up here, so you can see it's gonna run off a snatch block. So I can have 2 winches off the boom. And then I think we're gonna rig up a snatch block right here where we can actually, it's really close to hitting the boom right here. When it's winching in, it probably will rub a little bit. So I'm gonna put a snatch block here so we can run that up. But I can also bring that winch line straight out over the back of the bed like that and come straight out to a vehicle behind me. Or there's just lots of options. That's why I went ahead and put that one there. We're still going to put one low. We still got side winches, but that's a very versatile location. So, all right, a little bit more to do, and I'm going to get out of here. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it a night. It's late. Got everything cleaned up. Both winches are hooked up. She's ready to rock and roll. If we get some snow, she'll be ready to go. Battery's on the trickle charge. Make sure the battery's charged up so everything can run. We got to get a dual battery in this soon. That's going to be a project in the near future. We got to get a dual battery. We got to clean up a bunch of wiring. We need lights. Our lights are a bunch of used lights that we had laying around, like this thing. We need a bunch of really good lights for this. We just don't have the money to spend on it. So if anybody wants to give us some lights, you know, or sponsor this truck with a bunch of lights, that would be awesome. But I'm going to call it a night. Things ready to go in case we need it. And I'm tired and I want to head home. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.